Okay, I think we're all set up. Hello and welcome to Plugin Along, a stream dedicated to LOTRO plugins. Last time on Plugin Along, we took a look at the Harvestmath Wheat Maze part of Festival Buddy 2, and also some translations for the In-League Ale Association. For the Wheat Maze, it wasn't the Festival Buddy wasn't taking into account the offset between server time and local time when calculating when is 10 a.m. And we started to incorporate some of Thurlore's work in reminders to add the offset as a setting and to add in the ability to auto-detect these things. Today, I'm going to first start by taking a look at some In-League Ale Association translations that Talyrion sent over for German, and then get back to that time offset option. As always, feel free to jump into chat with your thoughts and questions. In the meantime, let's go ahead and share a desktop. Okay, so here we are by the party tree where there is a pony to Wistmead. So I'll go ahead and get myself set up by going to Wistmead, but we'll look at those translation files first. What I did in the between time, between last week and this week, was to go ahead and set up French and German versions of the In-League Ale Association quick guide. Now, currently, the system only supports a single quick guide, and for In-League Ale Association, that could be a problem because there's any number of ways to go through that system. So a longer-term view of the quick guide system for Festival Buddy would allow for more user configuration of those systems. That's not in the cards for today, but that is in the long-term view where you'd have a quick guide editor where you could go in and do cool things. But for today, let's go ahead and take a look. We got a couple of files from Talyrion, and we're going to go ahead and be comparing these to the files that are in Festival Buddy. So we can see here, added German translations, awesome. Where's my French translations? I thought I did those also. The Vice says, I love Bombadil Movement Walk. Yeah, I've been enjoying the having a good time, a whimsy walk with my goose flopping along behind. Oh, added French strings. It's the most recent thing. Of course it is. Okay, great. So French and German that I did are already in here. This is stuff that we were working on from before, the time offset stuff. That's all of that. Time offset. Great. Cool. So that's all. The existing stuff here is all what we were working on before. And we could stash this all aside, but they're not going to be working in the same locations, so I'm not too worried about that. So what we want to do is open up a folder, Documents, Lord of the Rings Online, go into Plugins, Cube Plugins, that's me, Festival Buddy, and we're going to go in and see what things were changed between what Talyrion has done and our files. And we'll see how much of them we like. Okay. So we're going to come on in, open this up in, I use Beyond Compare for my file comparison utility. Okay, so here's a travel turn into string. We had pre-translated that as Reisenach, and Talyrion, let's see. Oh, I'm sorry, we had done Reisenach, but Talyrion thinks it should be Reisenach. All right, fair enough. We can do that. And then travel to a place, collect a thing from a person, instead of... Oh, hang on a sec. Travel collect from where? What is this? We're going to come on in to quickguides.lua. this is collect a quest thing from an NPC. And we have Von, and Talyrion thought that should be by, but if German is anything like Dutch, and it often isn't, I would expect that to be indicating a place and not a person. So I'm going to push back on that. And Talyrion, if you are watching, maybe we could diagnose that in real time. But I think by, to me, is more positional and Von is more from a person. But my understanding of German is very weak. So we're going to double check that. But the other one, sure. Why not Reise instead of Reisen? Okay. So, yeah, we'll go ahead and save changes. What else do we have? We have, in the Gale Association, DE. Let's pull that in and see what changes were provided. It's a little hard to see in this configuration, but I am going to pop that out here a moment. Let's see. Okay, I think that is a credit entry that was pulled in from the other one that they have, this no pre-stacking one. That is, you don't need to go out and have already acquired the drinks that you need to turn in. Okay, well, let's move forward here. They wanted to replace, you know what, let's get a little wider one. Although, maybe we could do top-bottom instead of side-by-side for this. Okay. So they're commenting out what was there in order to say, okay, that's fine. Okay, that's a naming issue for that location. Okay. And instead of in. And that's fine. The is fine. I'm curious if the Thorns Hall Inn is actually called Facepalm. I had trouble finding that. So that's worth double checking just by logging in with a German client real fast. All right, here we have Lone Lands instead of the Lone Lands with D in Den Lone Lands. That sounds fine. Good catch there. What else do we have? Im instead of in? Sure. Another im instead of in? Yeah. Sounds great. Oh, that's funny. Did I miss a translation of Breland? No. Maybe Bree Town is translated differently. Okay, I'll double check on that. And then Den instead. Okay, so we have a couple locations that are probably correct, but I'll double check them on my end first, and then slightly different credits. Okay, that's all pretty reasonable. Let's go ahead and come on in and see what changes we actually made. So here I'm going to use Beyond Compare just to compare the changes that I did. Except in this first batch. So D goes to Den, in went to Im, in went to Im, and D went to Den. That's all great. incorporated a few German grammar fixes. Okay. Awesome. So Talyrion, thanks very much for those. I'm going to double check the place names. And what else do we have? The acquisition for a drink for the in-league is not recognized unless you're really doing the quest, which is directly at the NPC. I wonder if it would be possible to check inventory for the items. Right, because right now what we're looking for in the In-League Ale Association, and we can actually pull that up real fast, is we're looking for the actual quest acknowledgement that, well, these are the fake ones and the real ones. So you have collected the fake thing. You have to go to a place and actually pick it up, and you have collected Stars of the Old Cider. You only see this when you pick up the quest. And what Talyrion's asking for is an item acquiring would also be nice. And so what we would want to do is add support for observing the acquisition of an item into your inventory. And in that case, it would be Stars of Old Cider. And if you have one of those, we could mark that off. I'll think about that. That's an interesting idea. It certainly is something that we can do, but the mechanism to monitor someone's inventory to make sure that they have collected a thing, and then you have to answer the question, what if they drink it? What if they get rid of it? What if they trade it away or mail it or whatever? Do we uncomplete that step of that objective in the quick guide? Maybe? That just makes things a little bit harder. But it is true that we don't pay attention to that now. So if you collect Stars of Old Cider and then you drank it, the quick guide would still think that you had completed that objective as well. So that would be a more holistic approach, is acknowledging, okay, you could already have the Stars of the Old Cider. We could pre-check that off. And if you stop having the Stars of the Old Cider, we should uncomplete it if it was marked as complete. And those are things we could do. So let's go to our to-dos. Quick guide ideas for quick guide quest progression that involves acquiring an item, i.e. in league, drinks, monitor the inventory to see when, to see if they already have it, and if so, mark off the objective. If they lose the item, unmark off the objective. Here this says, drinking and questing don't mix, except when retrieving the wine from the haunted burrow. Absolutely, I would never suggest drinking in-league drinks that are in your inventory, but misclicks can happen. And if that was your last one, suddenly you no longer are going to have the drink that you need. And in that sense, I think, yeah, adding support for, oh, we see that you have that. If you used a drink, suddenly being like, oops, you used something you shouldn't have, that could be an interesting little bit of a helper text. Because you're not going to know that you're missing the thing until you get to some remote location like Oosthair in the Lonelands, and then suddenly you'll be like, oh, I don't actually have the drink that I need here. That's inconvenient because I'm not anywhere near where I want to be. Okay, so Talyrion, that's a really interesting idea. That's beyond what we're going to do today, but that could be really cool. Okay. Neat. Okay, I accidentally typed something there. That's why there was a change. So we've got some fixes there, and we'll go ahead and look at the rest of those locations at some point. Actually, Hang on a sec. Might be able to do something with that right now. I have to figure out where I put a thing. Okay, that's where I put the thing. Sure, let's do a thing. So, I'm going to log into, let's say, Laurelin, and I'm going to go ahead and change over to German. And we'll see how that works. Sure, give it a try. I have not patched my German client in a while. Well, we'll just let it think about that for a little while. Okay. Or perhaps it's having problems because I have a client open. Don't do things live if you're not sure about it. Oh well. Okay. And the other thing was mentioned was there was an issue with a scroll bar in the quick guide. Let's go take a look at that. So, if we are looking at the In-League Association and we look at the quick guide, let's see. When using a scroll bar on the quick guide, is not selectable at the bottom end. If you scroll down to the credits, the bottom end of the scroll bar is not highlighted when you hover over it, and pressing the mouse button will not do anything. Perhaps a display is overlapping that scroll bar. All right. That's a cool piece of information, and I can see it having that effect, yes. So something is definitely over that, and it might actually be this section down here. Because if we are over it there, we can see right above where that button is. It's too wide. That's something we can play with. Let's look at reset this quick guide. All right. I believe that is not going to happen right now. Reset this quick. There we go. Really? Reset this quick guide. Okay, so that's quick guide reset. Awesome. Let's find out that. And that is a reset item. That goes into the reset node. The reset node is a tree node that is a certain size. So let's go ahead and say reset node set back color. That's going to be a turbine.ui.color. Dark something. Dark orchid. What's that? Sure, that sounds great. Okay, so as we scroll on down here, yeah, what's interesting is that is going to be true for the credit node also, it looks like. So let's go ahead and give that a different color. Credit node setback color of dark slate gray. Unload, reload. Okay, and what we can see is that they are absolutely on top of where the scroll bar is. Now, why aren't the other things on top of there? This is get quick guide create node. Okay, let's see that. And the node, we're setting the size, get width -8. Now, why is it -8? Well, that's the width of the scroll bar. So what we want to do is go ahead and say we'll go ahead and do it here. local scroll bar width. What is it? Scroll bar width equals 8. So let's find all the uses of 8 and see if they're all talking about the scroll bar width. Scroll bar, set size. Yep, there we go. And then set the position equal to the width minus 8. Awesome. Where else do we have this? Tree view get width minus scroll bar width. Awesome. Checkbox. Okay, so what we didn't see, if we look for all of the set sizes, we're going to see tree view get width minus scroll bar width on this tree node. Tree view get width minus scroll bar width. But then we see the reset node, and we don't have that minus scroll bar width. And we get to the reset item. Oh, that's fine. Create node, set size, get width minus the scroll bar width. So we can see where we're getting into trouble here by having things that aren't taking into account that constraint there. Now, what would have been better would be if there was some sub-control within that window where the scroll bar was, but the scroll bar and the tree view have to be linked together. So I think maybe we just that's just how we have to do it. Okay, and then we can see down here we can hover over, and yes, now we can select the scroll bar because those things are just a little bit narrower and no longer cover over that space. Other option is set the Z order so that they can be wider but below, but I think this is a nicer solution. That way the text doesn't try to run underneath or on top of the scroll bar. Okay, so, I love that one. What we want to do is coming into, that's the quick guide win. And what we want to do is undo those backgrounds, set back color, dark orchid, and set back color dark slate gray. Okay, that's good. Coming back in, scroll all the way to the bottom. Those are no longer a different color. Perfect. So that's how we're going to fix that bug. Bug fix. Reset and credits section of quick guide. We're covering scroll bar. So what do we have? We have the scroll bar width. Good. We have, you know what? Let's go ahead and pop this out a little bit. We have traded up 8 for scroll bar width, 8 for scroll bar width, get width, 8 scroll bar width, added in the subtraction of scroll bar width in these 3 places. That looks great. Now, is that even worth putting into a release notes? Why not? Makes it seem like we're doing something. README. Bug fix. Reset button and credits no longer cover the quick guide scroll bar. And thank you again to Talyrion for pointing that out. So often I'm clearing things out that by the time I get to that point, there is no scroll bar because I've done everything before that. So that's a subtle thing, but it's good to catch that. Okay, I think the rest of that is all good. So we have the actual change and the change of the README. Fantastic. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move these over out of the way. Thank you again, Talyrion. And now to look at the offset. So, what are we doing? So, as we were talking about last time, we need the local time difference from server time. This is generally for the three regions that are most likely to be impacted: the United States and Germany and France are kind of the primary targets, but really any English-speaking countries, any or people, any French-speaking people, any German-speaking people. There are places in the world where their offset from server time may not be in whole hours, and that is a slight concern to me. However, the code that exists does this in whole hours, and so we're going to start there, and then if anyone ever comes back and says, hey, that doesn't work for me, we'll think about getting more granular. In general, they are generally fixed at 15-minute increments, so you can have a 45-minute offset or an hour and 15-minute offsets. Those are things you can see in the real world. Yeah, so it's definitely still doable, but I don't know if the code does that or if it's going for whole numbers. So, okay, what we want to do is I was just thinking, how much do we want to refine this to accept things like pressing enter? Oh, we do have an args action. Okay, let's go look at the button. Let's look at the button that's causing this. We're going to go into the options window. And we have an args action. So if args.action equals turbine.ui.action, no, LOTRO.action.enter, well, we're looking for 162. Oops, sorry. I guess we could hard code it. Local enter equals 162. If args equals enter, then we just want to represent that we're doing, or indicate that we're doing that. So we're going to do key down, enter, and that's going to be the same thing. Let's go ahead and look at that. Okay, so that is 5. Cool. -5, cool. So enter key is fine there. If they what about tab? Are we getting anything for tab? Oh, fool that I am, I have deleted that too soon. All right, we're not seeing tab, which is okay. Well, we'll just have to deal with that. Okay, so what we want to do is have a function that saves this value. Function save time offset, and this will be called from each of these. So save time offset, we want to go ahead and save that somewhere. We know it's going to be in settings account, a local time offset. So we want to set this equal to something. So what we want to do is try to get time offset text box as a number. Now, local time offset, are we doing a number or a string? Let's go into our globals and see where we initialize that. We think it's supposed to be a number. Okay. Let's make use of the toNumber function. So, local offset equals toNumber of value. What does it do? When called, toNumber tries to convert its argument to a number. May have leading trace and trailing spaces with and a sign. Okay, great. Value. And we just want to set that equals offset. So if we do that, if we load this up, come on in and say -4, enter. And then we go ahead and unload and then load. We can see -4 in there. Awesome. Let's have +7. Great, +7. So the one thing that we want to do is go ahead and incorporate a button with a shortcut. And we can do this the fancy way that Talyrion was doing to make it so that the shortcut impression behind the button disappears, or we can just not worry about it too much. I'm inclined to do it the simple way first, and then we can always refine it later. So, when in doubt, it's nice to kind of get inspiration for how to do one of these things from a plugin that already exists. I'm not thinking that there is any shortcut feature in Festival Buddy yet. Oops, no. What are you doing? Shortcut. Oh, of course, we do have shortcuts. Quite a bunch of them. Harvestmath. And troves and trickery. Great. We have here buttons with aliases. So let's take a look at that. Oh, I've drugged the shortcut away. Okay, great. Interesting. Okay, so we can see, we have our /scold. We can see actually that this is kind of a fake button where they're doing something special so that doesn't bleed through. All right, let's figure out what they're doing here. Scold. So we're going to Trovesbury. Actually, what we're doing is we're looking at how emotes is used. Okay, and what that is if the emotes assist of a quest is there, and we have emotes, then we're going to create the emotes assist. All right. Let's take a look how we do that. Okay, yeah, that's just a list of the things. Okay, so we are here in main win. Then we have a parent window that's going to hold these emotes. We have a reposition bar. Okay, yeah, so when you hover over the top of it, you get that. That's cool. Gonna make this a little bit smaller. Cool, so that's all reposition bar stuff. We have the back of it, which is a pretty dark but slightly transparent thing. Yep, I see that. Okay. We have the close icon. That's the little X thing. Awesome. All of that's great. And then for each thing in the emote list, we're going to make a quick slot and a label. Oh, fantastic. I appreciate this documentation. I'm curious if I put it there or if someone else did. Okay, so we are putting a label there. We have a mouse enter and mouse leave. And there's also a quick slot here that is going to be the same size and position as the as the label. And then we can do that. Okay, let's play around with that. So we're going to go ahead and use that technique here in our options window. Let's go ahead and slide that over. So what we want to do is make, we have the time offset text box. Now we want the combination of the quick slot and the label. All right, local time offset quick slot. It's really a server time quick slot equals. All right, this is going to be a turbine.ui.lotro.quickslot. And copy that, it's a lot of typing. That set parent, and that's going to be the options window itself. That seems fine. And then we're going to go ahead and set the size. Yeah, I'm okay with that. 90 and 25. Sure, that sounds great. 90, 25. All right, we're going to do a set position. It's going to be the same Y as before. And here we know that the previous one's position was our indent, which is 10. This thing's width, which, stop it, was 180. Yeah, we can do all of that. So we have indent plus time offset text box get left plus time offset text box get width plus something extra. We want it to be a little bit more. So let's go ahead and say 20. Okay. So we have the position, set Z order. Yeah, that sounds about right. Set a Z order. We want this to be on top of the label. And set allow drop, false, although obviously that was still happening, so uncertain about that. That drag. Nope. Boy, do I need that to stop happening. Okay, and then set visible to true. All of that sounds great. Let's check out the next section. Local server time label equals. And then we're going to go ahead and copy that because it's a lot to type. Set parent, again, we're going to the options. This is going to overlap in space with the previous one. So set size, we know we can just go ahead and use the same values. I've had trouble with passing a tuple like this on, so I'm not going to worry about it right now. Set position. Yeah, for that one, I will actually not bother to recalculate that. Get left, and that's going to Y. Okay. So we are going to set mouse visible to false because we do not want it to interact. We want things to go straight to that label. Set back color. Sounds great. That's a good color. Let's do that. In fact, we could do some lazy copy pasting of the rest of this. Now, setting the Z order of 1,000, that's odd actually. Oh, because the mouse. Oh yeah, okay. In that case, I'm curious what happens if we don't set the Z order at all. We're going to go ahead and do the rest of this though, font, text alignment, and text. Text in this case being something. Oh, that's iterating through there. We do know that in reminders they already had localized versions of what we want to do here. So let's go ahead and add in reminders. Okay, so here's that server time command that we want to hoist on out. This is discoverable in other ways, but we know it's also here. So we're going to go into our strings. Let's find that offset. Server time command equals German equals and French equals. All right, that's the start of it. We want this, so we know /server time for English. We know server Zeit for German, and the hour of the server for French. Okay. So we're going to make use of that in our options window. So this is going to be get string. Okay. So is that all? No, we're missing something. This enter and leave is how we get the hover over effect here. And I think that's nice. It mimics the default buttons. So we're going to go ahead and do that as well. Right, to do the declaration of these handlers, though, after the label, so it's not going to be co-located. Emote could come second, though, or the quick slot could come second. We are not referencing that. Worry about that later. Okay, so we want to go ahead and have the quick slot. Mouse enter equals function sender args, and also mouse leave equals function sender args. And I actually think it's fine to go ahead and just hoist those on out. We are going to, of course, update the name of the label. Cool. The last thing we need is the actual shortcut. Local server time shortcut. And that's going to be a turbine.ui.lotro.shortcut. And this thing, we're going to go ahead and set the type to be turbine.ui.lotro.shortcutType.alias. Excellent. And we're going to go ahead and set the data to be something. Now in this case, we want to go into quest strings and take a look at this. Okay, so the emotes is there. Key value, yes. Okay, so we just want it to be the text. Awesome. And it's going to be the same as before. Awesome. Very cool. So we want that to be local server time chat command equals that. Setting data there. And then we need to go ahead and set the emote. No, sorry, quick slot. Set shortcut of the shortcut. This feels like a very roundabout way to get this done, but it does work in general. Let's see if it works. Okay, so we're going to come back in here into the options, and we have an alias. Oh, and this time we probably want two different texts. We probably also want to make that a little bit longer. Wider. We want two different texts here. We want the auto detect, so detect let's go ahead and get reminders up so we can remember what the word is. It's just detect. Awesome. Oh, that was for server. But also for offset. That works too. Okay, so we want that to be detect here. In German, we'll go ahead and do ermitteln. And in French, detecter. Okay. And that's the one we actually want to use. So we're going to put here server time command, and here it's going to be detect offset instead. All right, so we can see detect. Now, we are seeing an alignment that I just took. That was middle center. I don't know about that. Let's go ahead and come here a sec. Okay. Yeah, that does that. So it'll interesting. I think this thing, what if this is wider? Let's go ahead and make it 100 and see what happens to that word. It is not going the way I thought it would. Label set text alignment, middle center. Okay, show me what it looks like with middle right. I think that is actually taking up more space than I thought. There we go. I think the background is cutting off here. Okay. Cool. Okay, so we have a detect button. However, in order to see it working, gotta scroll on down here. We can see the current time on the server is this. What we need is to be able to parse that. And for that, we do have this string here. So we're going to go ahead and hoist that up. And that's server time. We're going to, instead of server time detect, that's server time chat output equals. Actually, chat patterns I like. So, same basic idea. We're going to go ahead and, in fact, copy that and then just delete stuff in here. Hey, little one. No? Okay. Got things to do. So, a refinement that Thorolor did in reminders was to only pay attention to chat while your mouse is over the button and therefore over the shortcut. Your mouse is over there, we start paying attention, your mouse leaves, we stop paying attention. However, I think for something like this, that might be more complicated than it needs to be, because if we ever see the current time on the server is in standard chat, I think we should go ahead and consume that, whether or not you used this button to do it. So that's my understanding of this, is if we come on in here, and we see that offset there, if I do /server time, we can see it didn't update this, even though we have the information that we need. It was only when we hit detect while our cursor was over here that reminders was like, okay, I do want to pay attention to that. And that's fine, that's certainly a valid choice. But in our case, it's the trade-off of parsing everything that comes through standard, looking for this, which is a pretty rare thing, or only doing it when our mouse is over here. I think we could take advantage of that idea. But I don't know that we need to take advantage of that idea. So what we want to do is come on in here and get rid of that, for one thing. So we have the pattern that we need in order to detect what's happening. And if we want to go the Thorolor optimization route, we only want to be paying attention to this sometimes. Now, if we were to take a look at this, server time detect, let's see where this is used. This is used when we're instantiating the trick button, which knows all about this. And we're looking for regex expression. So chat received. And we can see on mouse enter, we remove the callback and we add the call. We remove it. We add it back in. That's interesting. Why do we do both of those? On mouse leave, we remove the callback. And on mouse enter, we remove it. Presumably remove it if it was already there. And then add it back in. This is interesting to me. What happens if you add a callback that's already there? Well, you would get double called back, which in this case doesn't necessarily do anything bad, but interesting. Okay, so we remove and then we add. Where'd my matters button go? There it is. Wanted to see this foreground change. Yeah, okay, you can see the text changing. It's not quite the same as an actual LOTRO button, but it's reasonably close. Okay, what else are we interested in here? We're interested in that turbine.chat. Let's see how we are hooking into it within Festival Buddy. Okay, initiate chat logger. In Festival Buddy, we're using a single dispatch style of event handling. There is one received function happening. It's right here. And we can see that we're already filtering everything in standard. So the idea of only paying attention to this sometimes is, we can certainly pay attention and only try to parse the contents if the mouse cursor is over the button. We could do that. But the actual filtering here is happening all the time, it looks like. All right, let's go ahead and make a function in the options window. This is going to be for handling that callback. Okay, so we have a function that we can send this to. And for now, we're just going to go ahead and parse it in general. And this is just going to be looking at chat received. We know that we have a regex. We do want to check the chat type channel. Well, we already know it's a standard chat that we're handling. Awesome. So, local matches, string match. Args, we do not have, but we do have the message. And the regex, we know that that is get string of chat pattern. And for that, we can just, now, calling it a regex might upset people, so let's go ahead and just call it a pattern. Just what it should be according to the arguments here. Okay, so matches equals that. And then we're just going to go ahead and say turbine.shell.writeLine matches, because I am not sure what to expect from that. So we're going to go ahead and dump out matches. And there we go. Let's take a look at that. So we have detect here. And we can see matches. Awesome. We can see we matched on 10 and 22. So we're getting month and date in the English client. And then we have hour and minute and morning, evening. Okay. So, if matches, let's grab month, day, hour, minute, PM. Okay, let's take a look and see how these are handled. Do callbacks, click unpacked, option. Yep. Here we have button.click, detect time zone. That's what we want. And this is the basic algorithm that we're looking to mimic. First, it'd be good to understand it. So let's go ahead and break this up into two different ones. Function detect time zone. And for this, we want month, day, hour, minute, AM, PM. And we want to dispatch it from here. So yeah, month, day. Tariello in chat says, holy cow, what's this? Well, under the covers, it is Lord of the Rings Online, a popular MMO in the world of Middle-earth. And what we're doing is writing a plugin using the Lua scripting language in order to modify the Festival Buddy plugin so that it can help the player by detecting the difference in time between your client and the server. So, now that you're caught up, we'll keep going. But more seriously, if you have any questions about Lord of the Rings in general or plugins in specific, feel free to pop those questions into chat. How are we dealing with our language in this plugin? All right, client lang, get client language, get client language. It's either English, French, or German. Okay. And we know that doesn't change during playtime. I saw a really interesting thing, and it might have been in reminders of a way of using equality operators to do something like a ternary operator in other languages. I think that's probably too complicated for what we want to do, so local month equals matches 1, local day equals matches 2, local day equals matches 3, local hour, minute equals matches 4, and the local AM PM equals matches 5. So this is the maybe the more straightforward way of writing and being less clever about it. Then we'll go ahead and say if client lang equals does not equal English. Is that a reasonable thing to do? How does Russian do their dates? Russian month date or date month. In Russia, says the internet, Wikipedia in this case, dates are usually written in day, month, year order. Okay. Not sure what their actual one does here, but if the client lang is not equal to English, then we'll go ahead and say month equals matches 2 and day equals matches 1. And then we'll just dispatch that. Detect time zone, month, day, hour, minute, AM, PM. So, 2 different things, sorting that out, and then the rest of this. So let's go ahead and make sure that we are getting the right stuff. Great. Let's go ahead and unload and then reload, and then so we see detect time zone, we get the 10, the 22, 03, 14. Excellent. Pi o'clock at server time. And what we want to do is figure out what else we need from this. First thing we want to do is go ahead and get our local date time. And for our sanity, we want to go ahead and say server month, server day, server hour, server minute, and server AM PM. Because otherwise, keeping track of what's server and what's local sounds like it's going to be a pain. Okay, so what is the algorithm in reminders? What does it care about, and do we agree with that? We get the day, hour, and minute, and we're also calculating a minute of the day. We want to detect the offset between the server and local time. But they're dealing with issues where if it is the first and in your local time and the server is the 31st of the previous month or something like that, you have problems. And you also have this problem at the end and beginning of a year. If you're just at a crossover between December 31st and January 1st, you're going to see different years. We can see that ThoroLore is taking into account month, but possibly not year. Well, it's a much rarer occasion, and for many people that they're otherwise busy. But a thorough algorithm would probably take both into account, if I understand this correctly. So chat message is not exactly the same for the get date. To cope with this, round the offset to the nearest 15-minute interval. All time zone offsets in the world are multiple of 15 minutes. Sure. And what we're doing is check time zone. Now, I feel like this may not be perfectly what I would want to do, but I think it is a reasonable starting point because it seems to work pretty well. So server hour, though, I'm curious. We have server hour equals to number. Okay, yeah, we are doing two numbers on these things, and that's fair. Equals to number. Let's go ahead and do that up here. Okay, so we know we're getting numbers in. Oh, actually, AM PM, not a number. Don't do that. Why are we modulo 12? What is that going to do? Is there an expectation that AM PM is not coming in for other? No, AM and PM are both there, in German and in French. But could they come in greater than 12? Okay, so modulo 12 means you get to 12. If it's PM, then we're going to add that 12 back. If it was 11, it's not PM. 11 a.m. modulo 12 is still 11. If it's 13, you're going to get that modulo of 1 out of the 12. So is this just normalizing it just in case we got something like 13:52 p.m.? I could see that, actually. Okay. Well, I certainly don't mind doing that fix up. So hour equals hour modulo 12. If AM PM equals PM, then hour equals hour plus 12. End. And then server minute of the day. Is that useful? I suppose they are using it. All right, so from here on out, let's go ahead and start hoisting this code in. Comment. Algorithm inspired by Thuralore's reminders. Okay, so we have our local day, hour, minute. We have our local minute of the day. Detect day offset between server and local time. Sure. And then we scale it back down to hours. Okay. I was curious, though, if our offset minutes will this actually support quarter hours? Let's find out. Okay, so we're going to come back on in and hit that. And offset hours, we see 6.25 because I did artificially put in extra time there. So offset minutes, if we took our local minute of the day, and here we went ahead and said plus, I don't know, 17. We can still see 625, awesome, plus 32. We're going to see 6.5, okay. That is working pretty reasonably well. So we kind of should expect that this field can support fractional hours as long as we do that everywhere else, that's fine. So we have an options window. We have detect time zone. That's mine. Detect time zone. Interesting. So here, in order to trigger the saving, we set the value of it, and then we say focus lost. That's as good a way as any, I suppose. However, we didn't actually save off those, did we? We do need to save that off. So options, I guess we should save these off. Okay, so we have offset. We need the time offset text box equals that. And then down here, we can go ahead and use that reference to set text to offset. And then we can go ahead and just, same thing, focus lost. Does it have a focus lost? It might have a focus lost. Let's find out. That does seem to work. However, the plus that we were doing before isn't getting included there. Let's look at that. Look, equals that. So let's make a function that we can hang this on. We're going to go ahead and say this dot set offset text equals function. And we're going to go ahead and say text. And that offset text, yeah, I know. I'm going to inject it anyway. That offset text is going to be based off of this. I think that works. Let's find out. And we're going to go ahead and pass in the local time offset. Okay, so with that, we can use that below, set the offset text, and then we have a single place that we can deal with that. All right, so -5, detect, +6, great. Offset hours 6. And if we have that in detect time zone, let's go ahead and play with that again. Plus 18 minutes. We can see we get the 6.25 in there. Now that's a problem from a localization perspective, perhaps. Let's take a look and see how that is saved in the save file. So our save file, documents, loaderlings online, plugin data, that's going to be an account, specific character. No, actually, that's going to be account-wide. All servers, festival buddy. Okay. Oh, wrong screen. Local time offset, we can see that is in quotes. And that's good. I'd have to do some testing to recall whether that's going to be a problem for switching to other languages. But for right now, good enough. And we can see lots of numbers in quotes here. Not very many decimal numbers, but that's okay. Cool. So we have hoisted out of reminders a reasonable way to detect the offset without the user having to actually type anything. Neat. Let's come on in here and get rid of that 18-min offset. Do not want to deal with that. And we now have a way to deal with time zone differences when we're dealing with 10 o'clock. So let's pause. Let's go ahead and commit these changes. And then next, we will look at incorporating them. That being said, my voice is still a little raw, or my throat is. So I'm going to say that this might be a good chance for us to wind down the stream. So now's a good time. If you've got any last minute questions, comments, concerns, throw them into chat. And in the meantime, I'm going to work on committing the changes necessary for the detection of the offset, or the manual entering if you prefer. And then if we have a little bit of time, we'll take that into the 10 a.m. detection code. Otherwise, we'll get to it next week. Potino Bowen says, hey, hello! I've heard a rumor that you might be joining the stream team. If so, welcome. Okay, we're going to go ahead and bring up our source control. And really, quick guide? Huh, okay. Let's go ahead and incorporate that. Incorporating a few German grammar fixes. We'll get that too. How's it going? I think it's going really well. We've been trying to add in the understanding of server offset for Festival Buddy because the wheat maize in Wistmead resets at 10 a.m. server time, and the code is written as if it was 10 a.m. local time, which is only true for some people. So we are taking that into account so that we can say, well, by default, Festival Buddy would have 0 here, but you hit detect and it says, oh, okay, you're actually at +6 because we're at +6 here in the Netherlands until daylight saving time starts to change, and then we'll be at +5, and then we'll be back to +6. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and added server offset to options. So we are checking standard chat for server time. Great. We have a local time offset in our settings. We don't want the debug options, but we might want everything else. We've got our generic options, indent. Great. We've got our server time stuff that we've just been adding. Oh, I see a comment in there. Let's come on in to Z order. I saw that. Yep, we'll get rid of that. Yep, that was the only one. And all of that code, that's great. I'm just reminded of something I need to tell Rosenblum later. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Right. Split up those things. Awesome. So in our README, incorporated code from those reminders protecting the server local time offset. Great. And all of this. Let's go into our strings, actually. And separate that out. There we go. What is local time offset? Offset hours, detect offset, server time command, server chat, time chat pattern. Oh, that's great. Cool, cool, cool. And we have some to-do file changes. Great. Okay. So the final thing would be, if I have the time and the energy. Oh, I see Little Redhead is also saying welcome to Patina Bowen. Awesome. Patina's excited and nervous. Great. I get that. I have a long checklist that I go through before I stream, and the routine of it helps me settle into things, I think. And it helps make sure I don't forget something. And sometimes you do anyway, but at least then you've done what you can. Okay, so what we have is a maze map window. And in that window we have 10. Get previous hour 10. So we almost certainly care about get date time, get date. Okay, so hour is 10. So what we really care about is the date dot hour here. We would like to take into account the offset, but do we care about the day? We can see here there's code for dealing with wrapping back to the previous day and the previous year, like we were mentioning before. Was I lazy on the is leap year? I was not lazy on the is leap year. To do. Account for the server time, local time offset in, and for that we actually have it in, where was it? In the text box. Not laying options. Settings, account, local time offset. There we go. This can be a fractional value. 6.25 for time zones that aren't a whole hour off from the server. I want to make sure I'm thinking about this correctly and that I don't make any silly mistakes, and that this is actually the right place to be looking at it. And all of that, I think, will take us past a stopping time. And also, all of these things talk about the previous hour 10, and what we really mean is previous maze reset time. And I think digging out that idea, because it's not 10, for us it's 16 most of the time, and digging that out I think is going to take more time than I have tonight. So that's what we're going to do next time. If I don't get to it in the in-between time, is we're going to go ahead and possibly reword it all. So instead of hour 10, it's maze reset time, and definitely take into account that offset so that we know when we're expecting the mazes to change based off of what it was when we set it. Oh, that gives me a thought for next time. Okay, excellent. Well, with that, what have we done today? Well, in some respects, not a lot. We added a button, but what we did is we've added a capability for Festival Buddy to know what your server offset time is at the click of a button, instead of you having to know how many time zones away you are from the server time. And we've done that with inspiration from Reminders by Thorolore, and incorporating it using the way shortcuts look within the Festival Buddy plugin. So merging those two concepts, the basic functionality of what we saw in Reminders in with how shortcuts are here. And so now we have a working button. Last I checked, we even committed it into source control. Awesome. And we're ready to get going on actually using this value now that the users have an easy way to put it in, where they can just click to detect and they're done. They can always, of course, manually put it in, but the detection button is great and will be generally correct. Neat. And with that, that is everything we are going to cover today. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration of LOTRO plugins. I hope to see you here next week, and until then, keep plugging along. All right, bye-bye now.